Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to the July edition of our Catch Up with Keeper webinar series. We have a really exciting update for you all, so thank you all so much for joining. All right, as is our custom, we're going to go ahead and give folks a minute or two to file on in from the waiting room. While people join us, would love if folks who are already here would drop into the chat and let us know where you're calling in from. Okay, folks, we're going to go ahead and get things started. Once again, thank you all so much for taking the time today. Super excited to have you all here. Okay, here's the way things are going to work. I'm going to walk through all of the latest and greatest updates in Keeper. If you have a question, feel free to drop those in the Q&A section at the bottom. Please put them there instead of the chat so that we can find them and answer them. I see someone has already even dropped into the Q&A as well. So if you have a question that Help Center can answer, that's often a good place to jump in as well, but I'm happy to tackle anything that y'all ask of me. Okay, all right, we're gonna go ahead and start with a super minor workflow change that I know some of you with multi-user sign-offs will greatly appreciate. One of the great and or bad things, depending on your perspective on email about multi-user sign-offs, is they send you an email every time it is your turn to sign something off. So that could mean you're getting a ton of emails and maybe a ton of emails in rapid succession, especially if you have, for example, an account reconciliation section and you're the second level reviewer on every task on the account recs. To cut down on that volume of emails, what you can do is you can go to your user settings, notifications, and then batch related sign-off requests into one email. Basically, what that will do is it will take all your sign-off requests in a 30-minute span and only send you one sign-off request sort of batched email every 30 minutes. So just a great way to cut down on some of the email volume that may be coming out of Keeper at any particular point in time. All right. That's over here so I can keep an eye on the Q&A. Okay. Next question, next thing I'm excited to talk about is some improvements to our tax suite. In particular, we're going to start with the organizers. So first things first, you now have conditional logic on your organizers. So if you go to your organizers here, you now will see this logic button. And here you can add different conditional options. So basically, I've just got a simple example here. But if someone adds to their filing status that they are married filing jointly, you can optionally choose to show 2 additional questions here. And that way, if you have, if someone answers that they're not married filing jointly, you just never show those questions to them. So this is obviously a simple example, but many questions throughout the organizer might only need to be conditionally displayed. And so this is a good way of cutting down the unnecessary answers your clients may need to otherwise provide in organizers. Okay, and speaking of organizers can now also be downloaded. So we'll drop on over here into a client. And so here you've got a lot of questions here. Maybe you've got some related files. And so if you click download, you can either choose to just download a PDF or you can download a PDF and related files. And if we click this open here, I think I maybe only have one file that I've uploaded. But you can see all of the files in the organizer, and then you can also see the organizer and all of the related answers are turned into a PDF. Okay, and one more organizers related / tax suite related set of improvements is in the add client modal. We made some changes here as well, but in particular, we added this additional templates option here where you can choose to include, if you want, an e-signature template and or an organizer template when you add a client to Keeper. This is a great way to just cut down on the amount of things you need to do when you're adding a client. Okay, next we're going to talk about management reporting. So 2 major updates here. First is we added what we call a content page. This is essentially a plain text page that you can do whatever you want with. So in my example here, I have just like a longer form legal disclaimer here. I'll edit this so you can see. You can add merge tags here. So you can have a merge tag for the client name, a merge tag for the period end date, current year, prior year, the close period. So here we've got like as of the period ended June 30th, 2022. And then if we wanted to, we could do something like and periods ended June 2020, June 30th, 2022. And I can also sort of copy this here. And you can see these are merge tags. So you only have to set these up once. And then things will just flow through automatically as you roll forward the closes. And so we can see that will change things here. This looks like these are merge tags, but when you actually go to publish the management reports, it doesn't look like this. It looks seamlessly embedded into the text. And then one additional option that we added is you can now reorder the pages here on your management report. So if you wanted, for example, I know a super common request is to move metrics. So now, for example, instead of metrics being stuck at the bottom below all of the management reporting, you could move it to the top just below executive summary here. So you can just sort of drag and drop and put things where you want them to be a lot more flexibly than what you could in the past, where you could previously only just reorder the income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flows. All right. And last but certainly not least, I am super excited to talk about a feature we just released into beta last month, and we'll be opening up the beta more broadly over the next couple of weeks, and that is Keeper's new AI bank feeds. So what are AI bank feeds? Essentially, AI bank feeds are designed to be the exact same as your current bank feeds coding experience in QuickBooks. Same basic idea. So it should feel like a familiar experience. So you'll still see a feed of transactions you need to post from, but there's sort of two major differences here for what we're doing in Keeper versus what you might be doing today in QuickBooks. First is, and this is maybe like trivial to say, but these bank feeds are in Keeper. So you can that much further centralize your workflow and truly do everything all in one place. And so while I will only be talking about AI bank feeds today, this is actually one of a suite of improvements we're making to Keeper over the coming quarters. So that by the end of the year, you will truly be able to run your entire end-to-end close in Keeper and literally never need to log into QuickBooks or Xero. Okay, so that's the big one. The other one is what we're doing to pre-process transactions before you get here. So basically, our AI reviews all your transactions, and then it puts it into buckets. And so we have 4 separate buckets. And at this point, I will show you what this actually looks like so I can start to talk through them. So the core idea here is we wanted to reduce the complexity of bank feed categorization so that when you're looking at a transaction, when you're looking at a section here, what we call a group, you only need to think about one thing. So basically what our AI does is it reviews all your transactions and then it puts it into one of 4 buckets. It's either matches, rules, auto classifications, or needs review. So in matches, this is going to be similar matching logic to what you'll see in QuickBooks. So basically, we're going to suggest possible matches based on transactions that exist in the ledger. And just like QuickBooks, for example, if you have an open bill, matching this will create a linked bill payment. But if you have a purchase, matching will just link this transaction in the bank feed to the transaction in the ledger. A few differences, improvements on what we're doing here in matches. First, we just call them out up here at the top so you can review them really quickly and then get to the more complicated stuff. And then second is we also break out your matches into 3 separate buckets, like sub-buckets, I guess you'd call these. Possible matches is transactions that only have a single possible match. Matches divisible by 100 is transactions that are divisible by 100. The reason for this is if you see something like a $500 transaction, this may be, in this case, this is Facebook ads, which matches to this Facebook transaction. But that is also the case where you might have a lot of transactions that are sort of exactly that same dollar amount. And it's easier to make a mistake because you might just be less attentive if we're only suggesting one match. So this is, I think, a good example of where you might want to pay a little bit closer attention versus the other possible matches where like it's super unlikely that you've got another $171.25 transaction on or around June 30th here as well. And then last but not least, we also just break out transactions where you have multiple potential matches. And then here you can review both of those matches and see which one is appropriate. Okay, after your matches, you have rules. So again, some pieces of rules are going to work fairly similar to what you're doing today in QuickBooks. but we have a bunch of improvements to make rules even better. So first things first, rules are what we call composable, which means multiple rules can run on the same single transaction. So for example, if we've got this GoDaddy transaction and it's got Kenny Song somewhere here as the spender, and it's got GoDaddy as the vendor, we can create one rule that categorizes the account and vendor name based on GoDaddy, and then we can have an entirely different rule that categorizes the class based on this other keyword. So in this case, we're using Kenny. Second is our rules are designed to be more complex and more flexible so that you can sort of embed more complexity into your categorization via rules. So this is a simple but good example. Maybe if you have transactions over a certain dollar amount, over a capitalization threshold, you might want to post these to prepaid expenses, but otherwise you want them going to software. So basically, you can create an if-then-else set of rules, and then they all get bundled into the same rule, so you can review it and make changes as necessary. Another thing you can do here that I particularly find valuable for my own classification workflow, you can be the judge on whether this is relevant to you at all, is we also have things like absolute value amount. So instead of having money in versus money out, you can also say whether it's money in or money out over a certain dollar amount. That's what I care about. And then you can also have something like divisible by. So in our particular example, we buy Starbucks gift cards when we send them out as sales gifts. And it's hard to distinguish what's a Starbucks gift card versus what's spend at a random Starbucks store. And so what we do, our sort of internal rule for this is transactions that are divisible by 5. So it's essentially, if we see a $5, a $10, a $15, $20, $25 charge, those are very likely to be sales gifts. Whereas if it's $12.72, that's much more likely to be a meal charge. So we post that to Meals and Entertainment. So you can sort of take advantage of all of the complexity in our rules, both the if this then else rules, as well as the things like divisible by or absolute value to automatically process all those transactions with a rule. Okay. Once you have processed your rules, one more cool thing is everything is designed to be bulk postable here in Keeper. So we can see we've got 6 transactions here. Of course, we could bulk post them this way, but we can also just click this post button here, and that will automatically post all the transactions in that group. All right, and next we have auto classifications. And there's actually 2 groups of auto classifications: auto classification high confidence and auto classification medium confidence. The basic idea is our AI wants to express a confidence threshold in terms of when we are pretty sure that we know something should be categorized some way versus when we are less sure, but still confident. So here, for example, you can think of this like running the expense inconsistency report in reverse. And so basically, whereas in the expense inconsistency report, we're reviewing for ledger transactions that look the same, but are actually different. Here, we're looking for ledger transactions that look the same. And then in the n plus first case here, where you've got a new transaction with that vendor, we want to suggest that only if all the prior transactions are always categorized the same. So here, for example, we can see Home Depot, we're suggesting to job supplies because in the prior 212 transactions with Home Depot, they were always categorized to job supplies. So the 213th one, that seems like a pretty safe bet as well. And then here, of course, like everything, you can click this arrow over here on the left to see all of the historical transactions as well, so that you can review these and see if that's the appropriate categorization. Of course, if it is, once again, just like everything here, you can bulk post, and that will bulk post all 16 Home Depot transactions directly to the ledger. Same thing with Walmart here. I'll just go through one other example. We can drill in and see the historical transactions. And so that's why we're suggesting job supplies, and that's why we're suggesting the vendor Walmart. And so we do this for all of your transactions in the bank feed. And what we see is this auto categorizes somewhere on the order of 60 to 80% of the bank feed, depending on how recurring the nature of your client's transactions are. So it takes away a huge bulk of a lot of the clicking and categorizing that you're currently doing today in QuickBooks. All you need to do is really quickly review these and then, again, bulk post. I'll say I used this for our own bank feed categorization in the most recent close, and it sped up my QuickBooks bank feed categorization by at least 50%, if not more. after your auto classification high confidence, we also have medium confidence. Essentially, what medium confidence is doing is it's saying we still think this is Southwest and we still think this is travel, but we're less confident. And so in this case, we're less confident here because we can see this spend, we're actually in the Chase checking account, but we've got some spend with Brex payable. That's always to Southwest, like it's to Southwest, it's always to travel. But because it's in a different card, the statement descriptor looks different. We're just less confident about that. And so we're going to put that in your medium confidence auto classification suggestions. So that way you can review those and see if we got that right. But you can sort of be a little more skeptical of the transactions in this section because the AI is going to make a guess, and that guess is good, but not always perfect. And then below your auto classifications, the last section here is what we call needs review. These are transactions where we've identified the transaction and we know we need your input on it. So the first section in needs review is what we call uncertain. These are transactions where we've looked at them, we know what they are, but we don't know what you want us to do with them. So here, for example, we can see we've got Descript. Descript is here because we've recognized that the vendor here is Descript, but we're not sure what the expense account should be. So here you can see 73% of the time this goes to software, 7% of the time this goes to test sales. And if you click in for more information here, you can see all of the historical details here. We can see we've got this one expense here that's coded to test sales, and that's what's making us uncertain about how to categorize the script. So you can just choose a suggestion here and then post the transaction, and then that will post the ledger just like any other one would. And last but not least, here we've got another Venmo transaction. So here we can see with Venmo, this is something where we're not sure how to categorize it. It's a few different contractors we pay via Venmo, but we don't necessarily have that requisite information. So of course, we can ask our clients for it. We can send our clients a question. This question will go into the portal just like any other transaction question that's in that's in Keeper already. And of course, one of the cool things about this is you can actually still leave this question in the bank feed while you work through the rest of the feed. One thing that I like to do if you do have a question that you're waiting on the vendor for is in this filter option here, you can filter your client questions. So you can say, let me filter for any transactions that don't have a related question. And basically what that lets you do is it lets you have this sort of like inbox zero style dynamic. So you can just filter out all the ones you asked about and then keep working your way through the rest of the bank feed. Okay. And last but not least, we have new vendors. These are ones that we have not recognized as existing in the ledger before. And if that is the case, what we're going to do is our AI is going to look them up on the internet, cross-reference that against your chart of accounts, and then make a suggestion as to how that vendor should probably be categorized. So here, for example, we can see we've got this statement descriptor cursor, and we can also take a look at what our AI is looking into. So the vendor, we're suggesting the vendor cursor. What you can see is we'll also return a website if that's available. So we can see cursor is an AI code editor, and so that seems like software is probably a reasonable bet here. And then we'll also give an explanation on why we think it should be that category as well. And then if you post this for the new vendors, it will automatically create this new vendor, put it in your vendor list, and then also add the appropriate transaction where it should.
Could you speak to the icons and little signifiers and just explicitly state kind of what those all mean?
Sure. I'll undo this one so I can show that. So there's two icons you'll see here. This purple star basically means our AI has one single suggestion for how something should be categorized. We're pretty confident about it. So here, this is why we're suggesting Descript and not another vendor. If we have multiple potential suggestions that we need you to choose from, this gets highlighted in orange, and you'll see this orange, I guess, asterisk. I guess that's technically also a star, but so that's what the difference is between the two icons.
Awesome. And another ad, could you also speak to the posting? Do we ever auto post or we make the suggestion and then you still have to post? Just kind of clarifying that.
Yeah, we don't currently auto post, so you'll still review everything and post them manually from here. But as I showed before, you can bulk post transactions, so you can really quickly work your way through a bank feed. All right, and one more thing I want to talk about before I turn over to the questions here is the client list. So we now have columns on the client list here. And here you can see we've got our latest posted transaction. This is particularly helpful if you want to make sure that you're categorizing transactions, for example, every single week. So you can just sort this transaction or even filter this by show me any clients where we last categorized more than 1 week ago. And those are the ones that maybe you want to pay attention to and go in and work on next. And last but not least, pricing. So AI bank feeds is going to be coming into Keeper for the low price of $0. It's a part of Keeper Premium, so you'll be able to use AI bank feeds at no added cost. All right, and with that, I will turn things over to look at the questions.
Sorry, last question on that. Explain when it will launch publicly for everyone.
Yes. Yeah, so it's in a beta state right now. There's still a few rough edges that we're polishing off. So we're opening up the beta more broadly to anyone who wants to be in it over the next couple of weeks. And then it should go live, hopefully, in September, I believe. Forgive me, Elena, if I have misstated the date. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and start with questions at the top. How can an admin, okay, this is not going to be related to the bank feeds, but we're going to work through it anyways. How can an admin or super admin stop another team member's timer? You can't currently do this. I know there's a canny for this. I think we're working on a fix, but if you write into our support chat, we will link you to the appropriate canny so that you can get notified when it's live. Christine asked, are footers available on the management reports, i.e. the no assurance footer? They are. This is a practice level setting. You go to practice management and then legal disclaimers here, and you can set one on the cover page and or one on the footer. Christine asked, are we able to create journal entries within Keeper? The answer is yes. Currently today, within Keeper Receipts, we are working on better ways to just manually add transactions. But today, within Keeper Receipts, you can post journal entries. And anonymous attendee asked, can bank feed rules be imported, exported, and copied between clients? They can't currently today be done. We can't currently today import or copy rules across clients yet. However, this is something that our team is working on, so we'll be sure to keep y'all posted on that. Jamie asked, will transactions in bank feeds pull in from QBO like the rest of the transaction review sections, or does this require setting up bank accounts connections inside of Keeper and QuickBooks? It's a great question and one I probably should have mentioned out front. This does require connecting a new, and actually is one other feature I can talk about as well. So it does require connecting a bank account directly to Keeper so that we can process the transactions rather than the transactions that are still sitting in your QuickBooks bank feeds. So short answer is yes, this will require connecting QuickBooks. However, this does let me talk about one cool new thing we do within Keeper. So if you want to connect a new account in Keeper, you can do that in a few ways. You click this accounts button here, and you click add account, and you have 3 separate options. The first is sign in with credentials, which will take you to a screen where you can choose the appropriate bank, connect to them, and then that will connect the account to Keeper. Second is you can upload a CSV. So if you have a CSV file, you can upload that just like you can in QuickBooks. And then third, and I think folks are going to be pretty excited about this one, is we have what's called a client connection request. Basically what this does is it will prompt your client it will send essentially an action required item in the portal. Apologies if y'all can hear sirens. You may not, but welcome to New York. So what a client connection request will do is it will put an item in the portal to have the client go in and connect their bank account. And then basically the clients will manage that bank account connection. So if that bank account connection breaks, we'll send them another notification in the portal to reconnect it. So that way you can essentially not need to worry about, you get into the bank feeds like on the 15th and you're ready to start coding and then it's broken and you have to hassle the clients to go log into QuickBooks. So this is another way of just sort of putting that in the portal and helping all of that get managed directly inside Keeper. Just so y'all can see what that looks like. If I had one that's, let's say, Bank of America, and I click send request, I go to the portal here, you'll see we have this account connection request, and the clients can click that, and then they'll be prompted to log into their bank and connect it as well. Okay, Juan asked, is the bank feeds feature going to release for 0 at the same time as QuickBooks? Or similar to other feature releases, it will come later. Similar to other feature releases, it will come later. So first and foremost, focused on QuickBooks, but definitely this is something that we do want to bring to 0 as well. An anonymous attendee asked, can you add, if you need to add more detail to the memo, can that be done? Not currently today, although that's definitely something that we are looking to add support for. Bonnie asked, for bank feeds AI, what if the rule is set to auto post? Will they still appear here to review? So if they're set to auto post in QuickBooks, will they still appear here to review? Great question. So essentially, you can think of the bank feeds in Keeper and the bank feeds in QuickBooks as independent entities. And what will happen is if a bank feed transaction in QuickBooks auto posts, that means it will then show up in the ledger, and then Keeper will suggest a match here as well. So we do recommend once you get up and running in bank feeds and comfortable, you pick a cutoff point, and then you just only code the bank feeds inside of Keeper. You don't need to code the bank feeds in QuickBooks anymore. But you can, if you do still have auto add transactions, that's not going to screw anything up here. They'll just show up as possible matches. Okay, next question. Can bank feeds, for bank feeds that show attachments of checks, will Keeper also provide access to those? This is something we're still looking into. So it will very likely be done on a bank by bank basis, but we're working on that as well. Okay, Christina asked, can you show how to enable the last posted transaction in the client list? Yeah, great question. If you're in the AI Bank Feeds beta, you go to your edit columns options, and then here we have one called, it might be bank feeds. Last, right here. So bank feeds here is a new section, and then you can check last posted transaction. So there will be others that are coming. We're going to work on one that will be number of open items in the bank feed, so you can know which ones you need to review. But this is the first one to start. Dean asked, I tried to look in previous webcasts for a report that shows unreconciled transactions for various accounts at once. Am I dreaming this? Does this exist or no? This does not currently exist. I know this is something that we talked about adding to our file review. So we'll talk to the product team about that, but you are not dreaming. That does not exist. Okay. Vanessa asked, will the new bank feed essentially replace the Google Chrome extension in QuickBooks? Will there no longer be a way to post transaction questions to the portal from the QBO bank feed? Concerned with the upcoming new QBO bank feed. Short answer is no, this will not replace the Chrome extension. So the Chrome extension will continue to live if you do want to code bank feed transactions in QuickBooks instead of in Keeper. We still do need to fix it with the new bank feeds UI. So we're kind of sprung that one on us. So we're working on a fix there. But no, this won't replace the Chrome extension in its entirety. Kimberly asked, how do I know what level of Keeper subscription my firm has? What is included with premium? So easiest way to see your subscription level is to just go to your billing, and that will show you if you're on premium or standard. So you get that in your practice settings, and then billing. This may or may not work because I'm like on my test account, but we'll see. Okay, yeah, so this will show you if you're on premium or standard. And then as for what's included in premium versus standard, you can see some of the major differences here. Premium includes a custom branded client portal, an integrated email to send emails from your clients or to your clients, includes our time tracking, our W-9 requests, integrated texting, and of course, AI bank feeds when it releases as well. An anonymous attendee asked, when is a full ledger system coming so we can ditch QuickBooks? No comment. Chelsea asked, will account connections pull PDF bank statements as well? This is something that we're working on. It won't be live at launch, but it is something that we're working on, and we'll have more to share on that in subsequent updates. 2K Consulting, how will banks that require 2FA when logging in work? Generally speaking, the connector can use 2FA. So Hopefully that should work. But as we open things up to the beta, if you run into any issues, please do let us know so that we can continue to attend to those. I expect that will hopefully mostly work, but there will for sure be edge cases. Renee asked, do we need to disconnect our QuickBooks bank feeds if using the Keeper bank feeds? If you connect in Keeper, does it recognize the last transactions that are brought in so it doesn't duplicate transactions? It does, and the way it does sort of requires no special logic. So essentially, the way you can think about this is the bank feeds, when you process a transaction from the bank feed, what it does is it adds that transaction to the ledger. And then matches is us looking at, this is the same as us or the bank feed, but the bank feed looking at the ledger and seeing, is there a similar transaction in the ledger that has not already been linked to a bank feed line? If there is, then suggest that as a potential match. So basically what will happen is, let's say you have a $200 charge to Facebook, and you post that in QuickBooks, you then go in Keeper. That same $200 line will still exist in the Keeper bank feed as an unprocessed transaction. But because you posted it from QuickBooks, you won't we'll suggest that as a match. So we'll say, oh, we see this $200 ledger transaction on the same date. That should be a match. And that's the best way to avoid potential duplicates. That said, you can also choose when you're connecting an account which dates to bring things over on. For example, if you finish processing on May 31st, you can set the cutoff date to June 1st. Dandy asked, does the account connection work with view-only access to the bank or credit card accounts, or does the owner need to use their login credentials? This is going to be a big old, it depends. So banks handle all of the connection logic differently. Generally speaking, view-only is not going to work for connections. But again, it's going to vary on a bank-by-bank basis. And for those cases where you do need owner credentials, that's a great use case for adding the client connection request. An anonymous attendee asked, can we set up 2 different Keeper portals under the same firm for different departments so each department has its own client page and separate client list? As long as you want the same branding in the client portal that goes to the client, the answer is yes. We have a feature called branches. And basically, that's exactly what it does. It will sort of segregate your practice into 2 separate sub-practices. And allow you to sort of put users and clients in a single branch or the other. It is not reversible, so definitely want to make sure that you sort of do this carefully. If you want to proceed with branches or want to learn more about branches, write into our support chat and we can talk more through what that entails there. An anonymous attendee asks, once we begin using Keeper's bank feeds, do we still have to clear the bank feeds in QuickBooks and Xero, or can we just ignore them? How do you envision this working? Yeah, you can just ignore them or disconnect them. So once you set up your bank feeds to run in QuickBooks or in Keeper, you no longer need to process them in QuickBooks. Okay, Dean asked, our firm is eventually hoping to have 2 separate Keeper profiles, one for our new niche and one for our general accounting clients. Is this kind of split feasible now or in the future? What would be the best way to make that split if possible? If you do have separate branding, so separate client portal branding, that is going to be the case where you're going to want to set up 2 separate Keeper accounts. So branches is really only if I'm not sure if Dean is the same after 2 questions or if there's just happen to be 2 questions, but so if you want separate branding, would recommend setting those up as separate brand or separate Keeper accounts entirely. An anonymous attendee asked, is there a way to export all time entries, including firm time tracker data, into an Excel file? There is. If you go to your time tracking here, that is what this export CSV option does. And you can choose to export it rounded or unrounded. Rounded will narrow this to 2 decimal places, which will sort of add very strangely, if that matters. Exporting unrounded will take this out to like 6 or 8 decimal places. Kate asked, to clarify, the client list column for last transaction, is this only for clients in the AI bank feeds? Yes, that's correct. Christine asked, looks like in the legal disclaimer is showing up on the content page. Can we remove it? Not currently, but if you want to write that in as a canny, I will have our product team take a look at this as well. Okay, one question on sort of get through all the bank fees ones, and then I know some folks have asked about tax organizers, so we'll come back to those as well. Yasi asked, what about reconciliations? Will those happen in Keeper or QuickBooks? I sort of alluded to this earlier in terms of AI bank feeds being one of a suite of improvements that are coming to Keeper. But yes, we are working on doing reconciliations inside of Keeper directly as well. Greg asked if a client has multiple accounts at an institution, are they responsible for the mapping to the correct QBO account, or is that something that we take care of? Great question. So to sort of explain this a little bit further, that's like if you have two Bank of America, like if you have a Bank of America checking and a Bank of America savings and a Bank of America credit card and Bank of America sub account for the credit card. The short answer is no. Basically, all your client needs to do is set up the integration and sort of establish the linkage to Bank of America. And then what you'll get is you'll get a notification saying, hey, the client's linked this up, and then you'll be able to establish the mapping on your event. Cindy asked, I like how in QuickBooks, when reconciling a credit card or bank account, you can see via the match symbol which items have been matched in the bank feed. If we use Keeper bank feeds, do we lose the symbol? I assume this is like added or matched. Okay, the sort of checkbox. Short answer is yes. In the QuickBooks reconciliation interface, you will lose that symbol because they won't have been posted from the QuickBooks bank feed, and that's sort of a feature distinct to the QuickBooks bank feed. However, this is one of the reasons why we're working on our own reconciliation interface, and two, we're exploring other options to sort of mitigate that so you can see what has been processed in or what has been processed from Keeper's bank feeds, even if you still continue to do your reconciliations in QuickBooks. Amy asked, what feedback are you getting from clients about setting up the bank feeds in Keeper versus QuickBooks? I assume by clients here, we mean like accounting firms. Mostly positive feedback. We're seeing a lot of folks are really happy with the way everything is laid out. They're especially excited about the client connection requests so that you can delegate this access to the client and just have the client sort of go through and set up a connection here rather than needing to log into QuickBooks and set up the mapping as Greg was alluding to earlier. Generally speaking, they're also finding the AI to be much more reliable at predicting where a transaction should be categorized. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can try it for yourself. But overall, the initial beta feedback has been very positive here. Jacob asked, if a bank cannot connect for whatever reason, can you do an import of banking activity? Yes. So you just go to add account and then you upload a CSV. Okay. Looks like that is all of the bank feeds related questions. There was a couple of tax organizer questions I'm going to touch on quickly. And then I'm sure there will be more questions to come. Okay. Brittany asked, can you show how to use the logic function in the tax organizer again? Absolutely. So if you go to a tax organizer here, essentially there's two pieces to this. The first is a hidden form, and then the second is, or sorry, a hidden field, and then the second is a hidden slide, and then the second is a conditional logic to display that slide that's hidden. So for example, we've got here dependents. So here we say, please list all your dependents below. Alternatively, we could mark this slide as hidden instead of visible by default. So that's here. We can say mark this as hidden. And then we could add another section here that's like a yes, no, for example. I'll just add this to the top here. So for example, do you have dependents? And you can maybe make this required. And so here we could say dependents. Do you have dependents? you can say, is this filled? But in this case, we want to say like, if this is equal to yes, then show the dependence slide. Anonymous Cindy asked, how do we get access to the tax features? The tax features are a part of Keeper's tax suite, which is available for firms who are on a contract and have 20 plus connected clients. So if that fits the bill for you, just reach out to your CSM. If not, email us at sales@keeper.app and we can get you set up. Okay, John asked, for tax logic, is it possible to upload a tax return and then the organizer can change and highlight past tax forms received? The short answer is no today, although that is a feature that we are exploring. All right. Well, that appears to be all of the open questions here. So we'll give folks.
Sorry, we do have one in the chat from Catherine. How are you explaining to clients that they need to connect their bank feeds in a different program from their accounting file?
It is easier if you already have the client portal connected. Because if you already have the client portal connected, you can just say like, hey, we're using a new system to categorize bank feed transactions. That should be more efficient for us and also more reliable for you. We probably at launch will have a sort of email template that explains this. But if you do send out a connection request in the bank feeds, it will also email your client with some more information there as well. But I think that's probably a good case where we should add a email template that does this explanation about why to switch to bank feeds to the clients as well. So I'll make a note of that for sure. Okay. All right, I'm gonna give folks one more minute here to just ask any last questions that you haven't answered or that we haven't answered. While we do this, we'll also get us the here. Okay, if you have not already filled out the beta feedback, or if you have not already requested to join the beta and you like what you've seen here and you want to be a part of the beta, you can fill out this form here. I think my link and Lauren's link are the same. So you can fill out either form, should be the same form, and we will get you added. All right. Well, everyone, thank you all so much for taking the time today to learn about the latest and greatest in Keeper. I hope you are excited by the new bank feeds. We certainly are. I will say, as the doer of Keeper's monthly close, I certainly have appreciated having it as part of my close. It's definitely made things a lot easier. And we're excited to get y'all's feedback as we roll this out more broadly. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a good rest of your July, and I will see you all again right back here on the last Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern. Bye, everyone.